Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. Welcome back to another episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. And I feel like, as a barefoot thought leader, that it's time for a revolution, but a different kind of revolution than probably you're seeing played out in the media today. And I want to start by saying that I am a hippie at heart. That truly is the essence of who I am. And I actually have a piece of art in my living room that reads, "She has the soul of a gypsy, the heart of a hippie, and the spirit of a mermaid." And I truly believe that that is the core of who I am. I've always been a little wild, a little different, and a whole lot of not what you would expect. Now, you may say that you know who I am, but truly, most people don't know who I am because I just feel like I pull from everywhere to create the world that I live in through all of metaphysics and science and quantum physics and all the magical things that happen in the world. And today I want to take you on a journey into what it really means to me to live with the heart of a hippie, which is radically responsible, because I feel as though even as a hippie in the 60s, as a young woman, I was radically responsible. And knowing that I was responsible for my life, the experiences and the things that were happening to me, and this whole idea of blaming someone else or pointing fingers somewhere other than myself is just deflection, and how that energy is so desperately needed in the world that we're living in today. But I want to start by saying that being a hippie isn't about tie-dye shirts or burning incense, although I still love to do very much of both of those. It's actually about rejecting conformity. It's about embracing peace and love. Peace, love, and understanding. That's what hippies were having love-ins and sit-ins about. Peace, love, and understanding. Boy, oh boy, has that understanding piece really been lost somewhere along the way. And it's also, being a hippie is about choosing to live from a place of soul-led authenticity. This is what I teach. I teach it by the book, Your Inner Abundance. I teach it when I talk about feminine energy. I talk to my women and share about, this is about being authentic from your soul, from your toenails up. So this is where I want to begin this idea of being a hippie. And back in the 60s, hippies stood against war. We stood against materialism, and we stood against blind obedience. So I really want to focus in on those principles, on those ideas, because I still believe and value those so much. And I really see that there's a whole different sect of leftover hippies, is what I'm calling them, that really aren't doing any of that. I don't know. I've said this for years, that the baby boomers, which are the hippies, they were all about peace, love, and understanding. And then they turned into materialists and consumers, and we gathered all of the stuff. And now they're observing this blind obedience, which hippies stand against war for peace, against materialism, for understanding authentic and appreciating what you have right now, and absolutely against blind obedience. We embraced, well, I've never been much about this, but still, communal living, free love. Oh my gosh, love is free. And really, love thy neighbor as thyself. All of these spiritual principles are really being lost. And it's very interesting to watch that. And it's also very interesting to see the Gen Zs actually embracing some of that. We embraced Eastern spirituality, which that's where I began my path initially when I was 16 years old, when I said, "What is this all there is?" I was a very Christian raised woman. And the fact is that Eastern spirituality, Buddhism, Zen, all of these beautiful rituals and all of these beautiful philosophies really touched my heart. But what I've learned since is that it's just a blend. There's a common thread that goes through all spirituality. Back then, hippies, we embraced it, and a connection to nature that runs so very deep to our core. And it's about that nature that is alive and well, that you can see, that you can touch. It's not about the consumerism that goes along with the environmental mantra of driving a EV car or putting solar panels on your rooftops. Because really, truly, the spirit is still alive in me to do these things as a hippie. And I've never fit into the box. And I'm not going to fit into the box as I share this with you today about taking radical responsibility for being counterculture, because that's what I'm calling everyone up to be against counterculture, be against the status quo. I'm not saying be against anything, to be honest with you. What I am saying is be the authentic you and stop playing into the hands and the card deck of the culture of the man. Basically, that's what we used to call it back in the day. Stop being what the man wants you to be, not for rebellion's sake, but for consciousness sake. I implore you to begin to look deep, deep, deep into your soul for your consciousness sake, and begin to look at where our train has come off the rails. Because when something no longer serves us, which, trust me when I say, for 40 plus years I've watched this United States government not serve its people, it's our responsibility to walk away and create something new, not to resist someone that's actually working to create something new. So I'm going to tell you a little story that when I was younger, in my 20s, I made a conscious choice, literally, because I'm a hippie. Okay, come on. I made a conscious choice not to file tax returns. Why? Because I saw that the government wasn't being a good steward of my money. Nobody's money, but my money in particular. And it wasn't about evading taxes. Oh my gosh, gracious sakes, no. I was so upset. And, I'm a hippie. So I was like, this is how I am going to say out loud that I don't agree with what the government's doing. Well, you know what they say, you can't fight City Hall. It was about me standing up to the man. Well, 40 years later. And oh, by the way, that story ended very well, but a lot of heartache and a lot of fear that went around it. So read my book. It's really good. It'll talk about that. But 40 years later, the system that we live in, this thing called the United States government, is fatter, more bloated, and more buried in bureaucracy than ever. Than ever. So if you think that this young 20-year-old was railing as a hippie against it then, holy guacamole, I am railing against it now. And what I see is that there is a person in the White House that is actually working to change that. Whether you agree with the tactics or not, this is inefficiency. This United States government that we have is inefficiency at its essence. It is broken. And as I teach in all of my courses, from leadership to abundance to feminine energy, it's about fixing what's broken, healing it. There is a healing that is going on. And I never made it to Woodstock, although I did make it to Woodstock, the second Woodstock, and that's a whole nother story. I didn't do sit-ins, but the energy of that time, that hippie energy, lives inside of me. That deep, deep knowing that love, peace, and freedom are worth standing up for. Fighting, it's not a word that I like to use. Standing up for what your authentic truth is and not resisting. Resistance is lack. It's lack in its every essence. And I've said this so many different times. What you resist, oh, by the way, persists. What you resist persists. So, how do you do something different? You have to be for something. I'm for being a hippie. I'm for standing for truth, justice, the American way, all the superhero things. But I'm also for peace. I'm for love. I'm for understanding one another. I'm for being authentically you at every moment. I am absolutely knowing that your authentic self is what is needed here, not your following like the Pied Piper. Where is your critical thinking? Where is your mind? Where is your heart at this point? I proudly worn the titles literally throughout my life. Freak, yep, freak, love child, free spirit. I love the most free spirit, but I love the idea of being a hippie because I'm still that person. I'm almost 70. In 2 weeks. I'm going to be 70 years old, and I'm still standing for peace, love, and understanding. And when you are railing against people and calling them names and shouting profanities at people that you don't even know personally, it's really 100% contrary to this whole notion of standing for peace, love, and understanding. So let's just talk about the man for a minute because that's what we used to call it back in the day, right? We're railing against the man. Well, guess what? He never went away. He didn't. Meaning the man that is in charge of all of the bureaucracy that we call the federal government. And frankly, it's all worldwide now. The man, he just got better branding. He just got better branding. Today, the man is pushing you cheap plastic from China, the bureaucracy, and all of the things that have been set into motion over these past 40 years so that you are addicted to consumerism, the one thing besides peace that hippies railed against: materialism, consumerism. There was a whole wave of recycling people that would go through trash cans and find furniture and used clothes and things a while ago. Where is that? Because we are being addicted. We literally are on crack from this cheap plastic crap from China while we're preaching about solar panels and electric cars. They're going to save the world. I got news for y'all. I got news for y'all. That is, again, the man. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on solar panels. When they come to my door, I feel like I want to get my shotgun out because the thing is, it's just more consumerism. It's more ways to make money for these organizations. I'm not here to tell you how ineffective solar panels and EVs are. I'm going to do that for another video. But the fact of the matter is when I see that, it makes me so insane because we have bigger issues. We're still filling landfills like freaking crazy. We're still poisoning our oceans to the point where, and it isn't going to be saved by solar panels and EVs. What's happening to the oceans through the landfills and all of the waste that we pump into the ocean with these gigantic islands of plastic? We are still, and this is the biggest crime on the planet. We are still raping our rainforests. And to the point where now we're raping our rainforest in Brazil to erect a concrete conference center to discuss, of all things, sustainability. Oh my gosh. It's insanity. You understand when you understand the science of how the carbon in our universe works. It's really simplistic, but it is the trees that can save us, not EVs and not solar panels. We are polluting our bodies with pharmaceuticals every single day. The United States is the sickest group of people on the planet. So freaking sick. We are polluting our soil, the place where we grow that food that we take into, which food is medicine, not pharmaceuticals, but we are polluting our soil with pesticides. One of the number one reasons why we have why we have climate change. We're sending into our water hormone disruptors of every nature. So when you want to start to look at what it means to be a hippie, let's start talking about the truth, not the inconvenient truth that some vice president wrote about. That isn't it. You wonder why the planet is sick and its people are getting sicker? It isn't about the climate change. It's about the reaction of the planet Earth, Mother Gaia, who's this living, breathing entity, is saying enough is enough. And what will change that? Oh, it makes me cry. What will change that is our consciousness. It is our consciousness. So here's the gut punch. The very people who were hippies beside me in the 60s, these are the very people, the hippies that were against conformity, that were against the man, that were for peace, love, and understanding, no wars, are the very people that are now defending the status quo. It breaks my heart. I'm crying thinking about it. They're protesting for the system. They're protesting for the very system that continues to perpetuate exactly this. They have lost this idea of consciousness. They have begun to become sheeple, I guess. I don't know. It's fascinating to watch because they've forgotten the rebellion against the status quo. They have forgotten their souls and they have forgotten the freedom, the very freedom of being authentic that we once stood for. They've traded in truth for these trends, these silly ideas of ideology, for trends, for cancel culture, for wokeness. These are principles that are politics. They are not the core essence of being the most unique species on the planet. And it so breaks my heart. I love my beloved Wichita Falls, but I have said this many times. It's as if there's a metaphorical sign at the beginning of the entrance to the community that says, this is how we've always done it, and this is how we're going to always do it. That is a very common theme, unfortunately, in the world today, because the people on the planet, the humans are asleep. Some of us are awake, not woke. We are awake. Because Einstein said, you are never going to solve a problem from the same mind that created it. And so, what is happening right now is that people want to stay in that same old stale mindset of the status quo and then layer some ideology on top of it and say that they're progressive. Well, they're not progressive, they're actually backwards. We need a fresh vision. And I am here to tell you that I am not Donald Trump's biggest supporter from the perspective that I don't like his rhetoric. But I'm going to tell you something. I love anybody. I don't care who they are. They can be green, purple, red, Republican, independent, Democrat, socialist. I don't care. That shake it up. We need fresh vision. We need brave hearts. We need people to question what is the status quo, which is exactly what's happening, which is where the resistance is coming from. The resistance is about people questioning what has been happening for the last 40 years. And instead of conforming with the same old, same old, same old, it's time to say, we are ready for newness. We are ready for newer ideas. We are ready for freshness. So, all my fellow hippies, this is your moment. This is your moment. The soul of the 60s wasn't about stubbornness and it wasn't about resistance. There was a message,
This is what I see right now is all these old leftover hippies and all the protesters and all the resistance is just about resistance. It's not about stating what you really want. It was so easy to see the message back when the Vietnam War was going on. We want no more war. Guess what? Donald Trump, that's what he says. He doesn't want any war anywhere in the world. He's about peace. You know what I find is fascinating to hear people compare Donald Trump to Hitler. And if you read the Abraham Accords, right, that's about finding peace in the Middle East. He wrote that, and it's on the State Department website. So I encourage you to go read it. But the fact of the matter is, it's about peace. If you listen to this man, I don't care what else you think about him, he wants peace in the world. Who is against that? This is the part I'm trying to figure out. Who's against peace? We are now about an awakening. This is about you awakening your own consciousness to see that there is magic afoot. We as hippies back then, we wanted a better world. We still want a better world. We want less war. We want more love. We want more understanding. So, what is it? What are you going to do? How are you standing for what you want, not standing for what you are against? There's such a beautiful phrase that I learned so many years ago: be for something and against nothing. Because here's the thing, resistance is lack. Anytime you're in resistance, you're blocking the flow of abundance. Read the book, Your Inner Billionaire, because I am going to tell you that all of these energies, being hateful, being spiteful, demeaning other people, being in resistance, they're all lack energies. They are keeping you stuck in poverty. They are keeping you stuck in poverty. We want to begin to be like the hippies were in the 1960s. We need all of that, all of this beautiful peace, love, and understanding. But now we also need clarity. We need to tear down not democracy, but the system that's been hijacked and distorted beyond recognition. This system that we live in, oh my goodness gracious. I think what's the problem is it's too much in the weeds for most of the citizens. This, I mean, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, I've been raised in a household that understands how the three branches of government work and how our systems work. And the thing is just like when I was in my 20s and I just decided that I wasn't going to pay taxes because the government's not good stewards. They haven't been good stewards since. Unfortunately, you can't get away with not paying your taxes. There's only two things you can count on: death and taxes. And the one thing that's so important is to stop thinking along party lines. Start thinking about soul lines. It's about the magic of fresh ideas. New ideas do you have of actually starting with where we are and changing it for the good? To have a government that actually is good stewards with your money and my money, right? You're giving money out every paycheck or in your tax returns, and having this be a prosperous nation instead of a nation that has modeled now for so many of you out there to be burdened with debt, to be so upside down and not understand how you can be an abundant creature and have this inner billionaire mindset that will drive you forward to have the best magical life you can dream of. It's time for people to dare to believe in themselves, in their consciousness, in the goodness of the world, in the people that are around us, and stop seeing our differences and begin to embrace our similarities. I am challenging every one of my hippie compadres out there not to get necessarily stuck in nostalgia, but rise into the now. Stand with this new energy. Stand with a new vision of what this looks like to be raised in consciousness, to be living in the 2020s of this world where AI is king, where life is transforming so fast you can hardly stand it, but be part of this rebirth of a system that actually is serving everybody. because that's what we want. We want everybody to be served, and nobody is special. Nobody is special. Literally, we have all of these laws that protect people who are special, but we don't need to put the special people at the front of the class. Everybody has an opportunity. This is what kills me, is that everybody, I'm a woman. I could have played the woman card so many times in my life, but I don't, because I am just a human having a spiritual experience and know that I have power beyond measure if I choose to see that about myself. But if I want to play a victim, that if I'm a certain race or I'm a certain religion or I'm a certain ethnicity, I'm a certain sex, that somehow or another I'm different and special, and you should treat me that way. Stop being victims. Be heroes in your own life. Stand for yourself and what it is that you believe in. What is it? What is your mission? What is your vision? What are your three most important values in your life? Stop following the crowd. That's the thing, is that when you follow the crowd like following a Pied Piper, you don't have your authenticity. So remember that piece of art that I shared about in my living room? She has the soul of a gypsy, the heart of a hippie, and the spirit of a mermaid. A gypsy wanders, a hippie loves, and a mermaid dives deep. And that's what I do every single day. In order to be radically responsible for your life, you have to dive deep every flippin' day. You have to dive deep into your soul and say, am I living the life of authenticity? Am I living the life of my values? And am I really, really being the divine essence that I was born to be? That is not protesting. That is, I don't know, that's a side hustle of some kind. What I want you to do is begin to start living your life from that place of diving deep. And that's what I want for all of you, is to wander free, to love without limits, and to dive deep, deep, deep into your own truth, not someone else's. And if you are resonating with this message today, please share it. Let's make Hippie holy again. Let's lead the revolution, not with rage, not with rage. That is going to create more lack and poverty in your own life, in your emotional state, your physical state, your financial state. Let's lead this revolution with responsibility. Please take a moment, look into your soul. Where is your consciousness right now? Is it in hate or is it in love? So until next time, stay wild, stay wise, and never forget the magic that lives in your soul.